Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Sword. Yesterday, I know we have a 15-game lead in the division, but for the first time in quite some time, I found myself watching a game and getting a little sweat in. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. You know how much I hate the Phillies. I hate that city. I hate everything about their fans. I hate that they knocked them out. I want to beat the hell out of the Phillies at every time. And listen, I've talked about this series as in more. Why it is kind of a little important for the Braves, because you got an opportunity to make it kind of uncomfortable. We play them 3 more times after this. If we take 3 out of 4 here, you never know. It could be pretty uncomfortable for them down the stretch, and maybe we knock them down to the 5 seed and they have to play on the road in that wild card. Maybe we knock them down to the 6 and we don't have to play them to the NLCS. There are some implications, but more than anything, I just want to beat those guys. And there was a lot of good. Matt Olsen, worst mistake in franchise history. He's now been bumped up to the second worst mistake in franchise history, guys. I have promoted him. He's now the second worst mistake in franchise history. We'll see. If he can get to 60, he might be up to 5th.
What's first? Who's first now? What's first?
I don't know. I think we could go BJ Upton.
I think that's up there. I think that's fair.
BJ Upton. We could do BJ Upton. Mark Teixeira was pretty bad. So he might be third. Well, actually, we'll put him up to third. He's been promoted to third.
We'll go real revolving door here. We'll say that trading Mark Teixeira was because the Angels got the comp pick that became Mike Trout whenever they lost Mark Teixeira to the Yankees. So trading Mark Teixeira, I'll say that's worst mistake in franchise history.
And then Ronald Acuna, obviously, bomb number 37. It seems like 40-40 is just inevitable. We predicted, I think we all were on here, even when he was at 28, and it seemed like a pipe dream that he was somehow going to get there. And he's just on one of those home run streaks. And when him and Olsen get on these home run streaks, it's a different breed. And they both, so that's huge. Marcell Ozuna, the big bear, he hits number 34. He could flirt with 40 this season. The bats were ridiculous. Then it got really squirrely at the end. And if there's one area that's starting to scare me a little bit, I will admit, it is this bullpen. I still believe in Joe Jimenez. I still believe in Raisel Iglesias. But the back end leaves a lot to be desired. But shout out Brad Hand. I don't even know if he's going to make the playoff roster. I think he proved in that moment right there. He's a veteran. He's been there, especially if he has lefties up in the lineup. He's probably the guy that's going to get the call, especially with Dylan Lee going on the IL.
I had absolutely no faith in Brad Hand in that situation. I won't even try and lie. And anybody who did have faith in Brad Hand is either they don't watch baseball, they don't know who Brad Hand is, or they were just lying. It felt like a playoff atmosphere because I think that was a sneak peek of what we're going to see in the playoffs. If things stay, as they are right now, we'll probably see them in the NLDS. And sure, all those things could happen that Chase mentioned. We beat them. Maybe we don't see, and they drop a couple spots in the wild card. Then we don't see them until the NLCS. I think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to see them at some point. We are not going to get to the World Series without going through the Phillies. I would be shocked. It would be quite an upset if one of the Cubs or, Diamondbacks, whoever beats the Phillies in a wild card, or maybe they go to the other side of the bracket and play the Dodgers in the NLDS, and they get upset by the Dodgers. I think they're favored in a series with the Dodgers as it stands today. The Dodgers rotation is a mess. The Phillies lineup is, outside of the Braves, is as deep as any in baseball. They are as powerful as any in baseball other than the Braves. And it felt like a playoff atmosphere because I felt like it was a preview. And I'm right there with you, Chase. I was watching it on mute. Can't wake the girlfriend up. She goes to bed early. And I was like, I also had some pit sweats going where I was like, I'm in bed with the fan on high and I'm sweating. Oh, and we're up 15 games. This is crazy. I love it, though. I love it.
One of the things that I love the most, too, is after the game, Zach Wheeler was talking about his outing, and he's like, yeah, and then I gave a home up to what's his name, Acuna. And he was probably in the moment just blanking for a second and stalling and just saying that. But when you print that, it looks like he's like, yeah, what's his name? Like Acuna or something. And I love that people are just running with that because I would bet if you played the audio back, he'd be like, what's his name? Acuna. And then, but no, it sounds like he's being like, oh yeah, what's his name? So I think it added a little fuel to it. And that did make me laugh a little bit.
Well, it's a real rivalry. It's a real rivalry.
Well, see, I don't think so. See,
so you couldn't be more wrong about anything that you've ever said on this show before.
All right. Well, then let me just finish. I hate that. Let me just finish, and then you can say what you want to say. It's far more of a rivalry to fans than it is to the actual players on the field. Sure, the Braves want to beat the Phillies. The Braves absolutely want to beat the Mets, but it's not even close to what the fan rivalry actually is.
I mean, I guess. I think that's the case in every sport.
I think that's it.
I don't think that's
maybe not
true
every
either.
sport, but
maybe
baseball
in
definitely.
in like college
Florida
football.
and Georgia absolutely hate each other.
All right.
Those
college
players
sports,
hate each other.
College sports is a lot
The
different.
Packers and Bears,
especially baseball.
The Packers and Bears hate each other.
Yeah,
I think you're both right, but I think it's just a baseball thing. I think
it's just a baseball thing. Yeah, listen. This is a real rivalry. It's a real rivalry because you talk about a team that's been absolutely dominant in the NL East, the Braves. Everybody in the NL East hates the Braves, especially fans wise, because listen, we've tortured them for the last 30 years. We've won 23 out of the last 30 division championships. We won the last 6 in a row. The magic number's down to 2. It could be, by the time this airs, we could have just clinched the division. And so they hate us. And listen, we hate the Phillies, and not just their fans are annoying, as I've always said, but they beat us last year. And that's going to be haunting the back of my mind until we beat them. And as much as everyone says, I don't want to see them in a playoff series, you know what? I want to see it because I want to beat them. I want to make them feel the way that we felt last year. And I know we are better than them. I know are they the toughest test? Without a doubt. I've said it all the time. But eventually you're going to have to go through some tough tests in the playoffs. And I want to end their season. That's my feeling. And if we don't play them, we don't play them. It's fine. Hey, it's not out of the realm of possibilities we end their season before it even gets to the postseason. You beat them today, sweep them.
One of the thoughts I've had, I've said it on the show a few times, but talking about staying keeping an edge. There's a reason why we've seen this trend of these teams that have fought and clawed their way up from the Nationals did it, the Braves did it. The Phillies almost did it last year. These wild card teams that have been fighting tooth and nail just to even make the playoffs. And then they come into the playoffs playing playoff baseball, ready to play like it's their last game, because for a month and a half, it was their last game. And so I think this helps the Braves keep that kind of edge. That's why we see the Dodgers fall on their face so many times. The guys win 115 games and then go out and just lose in the playoffs.
Maybe that's
because they haven't been playing meaningful baseball in months.
I do find it funny though that is a true statement, and I've said this before, but then again, you think back to last year and everyone's like, the Phillies were the hot team. Bro, the Braves won 71 of their last 95 games and won the division. They were the hottest team in baseball for 4 months. It wasn't like the Braves just limp walked into the playoffs. They were the hottest team in baseball, way hotter than the Phillies were. So yes and no. But the thing is, it's just baseball. It's just a weird thing. People ask me what scares me the most about October. October itself. Not any particular team. The Cubs could play us in the NLDS and get lucky 3 out of 5 times. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Are the Braves going to be favored significantly? Absolutely. But it's just October, especially that 5-game series. Absolutely anything can happen. And I would absolutely love, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be the Phillies in the NLDS or someone else in the NLDS if they knock off the Phillies. But I would love to play the Phillies in a 7-game series. If that could somehow be the NLCS, that's an absolute dream to me. But then if we play the Dodgers too, I wouldn't hate it.
There's a lot of great storylines, even the Cubs. I mean, if we could knock Dansby Swanson out, Braves fans would have a field day with that. There's a lot of great storylines. I mean, the Diamondbacks are an exciting team. They've had our number in the regular season if we could come back and beat them. So, there's just going to be a lot of exciting time. And, obviously I'm going to throw up if we don't win the World Series. I'm fully at that point where I expect to win a World Series at this point. We are arguably one of the greatest teams in MLB history. And if we don't win a World Series, everyone's going to be laughing at us.
It's the greatest lineup ever put together. I genuinely believe it's the greatest lineup. I mean, I think we are on pace to break the Twins record of home runs, which we've talked about is a juice ball record. They've already broken the real team home run record, but we're on pace to break that. We have 4 guys that are all going to hit. We have 4 guys that are going to hit 35 plus homers. We might have 3 guys that hit 40. We have 1 guy who could hit close to 60. We have a guy who hit 40, 70 is going to win the NL MVP. Everybody in the lineup still has a chance to hit 20. Michael Harris is at 16 and Orlando Arcia is at 17. This is the best lineup ever constructed.
While we're on the conversation, by the way, the MLB is doing a terrible job of marketing Ronald right now. What are we doing here, guys? 40-70 is unheard of. And I hope he's getting some of those Aaron Judge baseballs that Judge was getting towards, as he was breaking that record from last year. But what are we doing here, guys? You should be making this the biggest deal in the world. Just doing a terrible job. You guys were all about Shohei, and then he tore his easy. I haven't heard anything about baseball in weeks. From their perspective,
they took off.
It's that. I mean, the Aaron Judge. I mean, every at bat down the stretch. These last 17 games for Ronald Acuna should honestly be televised on MLB Network. They should be flashing to it. This is a record. I've said, The 61 home run record was not even really a actual record, like in terms of baseball standards. And on top of that, it's a record that can be broken. This is a record that legitimately, I don't think in our lifetimes will be broken. I mean, 40
maybe by Ronald himself.
Yeah. I like I said, I think 50-80 isn't even like out of the realm of possibilities for Ronald. But yeah, I agree with you. I've said that. I've also said Matt Olsen. I mean, he really has a low-key chance to chase 60. I mean, when he gets hot, dude, it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I mean, what does he have? 8, 9 homers in his last 11 games?
No player of the week, baby.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to get player of the week again. I mean, he already has 2 homers this week and 17 more games to hit 9 homers. It sounds like a lot.
I think he's had 3 or 4 since he won the award. It's just ridiculous.
He's a freak.
And it's crazy. Yeah, I understand. Shohei's awesome. I'm not trying to dunk on him for the purpose of this example, but they were neck and neck in terms of home runs for weeks until Shohei got hurt, and now nobody cares. It's nobody cares anymore. It's just Matt Olsen. And it's weird because the Braves do have such a big fan base. We're not like the Mariners or the Diamondbacks or a small market
or the
West
Angels.
Coast team.
Or
the
Angels.
Exactly.
We're not like the Angels. We got probably a top 5, at worst, a top 5 fan base in all of Major League Baseball. And listen, even when Stanton was on the Marlins and he was chasing 60, that was a huge storyline. Exactly. 60 is not out of the realm of possibilities. It's literally 9 homers in 17 games, which this guy has done 4 different times this year.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's in the middle of one of those stretches right now. So yeah, I don't think it's ridiculous. I just think MLB should be ashamed of themselves. They've just done a terrible job with how awesome this team has been, and just really not.
Imagine what the NBA would be doing with this team. The NBA would have more clicks on this team than anyone, and that's why they are ahead of the MLB. Coming up after the break, the Falcons defense, is it actually scaring teams across the league? We're going to talk about it.